Eric, thanks. That was a really good overview of it. While people are typing in their questions, I was just curious, have you had the opportunity to really see this in action where it's made a difference before? Is that something that you could share?
Yeah,
Do you have any
absolutely.
stories?
Yeah, I've got some anecdotal stories of my own usage, which is I'm a mess when it comes to emails. My inboxes are everywhere, and I think that, like a lot of people, a lot of average users, I've got a lot of folders and subfolders within folders, and it becomes a nightmare trying to search out an email. So on a daily basis, Heidi or anyone else within my team will ask a question about a certain file or email that I may have sent them, and I won't know anything about the email other than I sent it, and I probably sent it several years ago, and I'm able to just pull using the search terms in my own Outlook. It is the number one way that I access the archive, and then from the administrator side, we're constantly called to reproduce emails for either existing employees or former employees. And it's usually the former employee, the one that's on his way out the door or has already left and maybe has left under not so savory terms. we need to look at that message history, and you certainly can do that using exchange logs and trying to go through their own PST. But I think we've all seen the issue where that user has deleted on his way out the door, attempted to try to delete his messages, and depending on your rules with an exchange, if you deleted it 30 days ago, it may be lost at that point. So having the archive gives you that real view of what their inbox looked like, or their sent folder looked like, back in time, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, maybe when the issue actually started.
Gotcha. Okay, well that makes perfect sense. You don't want to not good to be at the mercy of angry former employees, I will tell you that. Thankfully I haven't had to deal with that, but I'm sure anyone who has, yeah.
Yeah, I think more on the consumer, on the business side, right? So, as techs, we kind of get singularly focused in, having to restore inboxes and things like that because that's what we're called to do as techs. But, in the business world, as business owners, when you're dealing with employees and dealing with vendors and those types of communications, you want to make sure that you've got that real access to the email and as it was originally sent, right? So no one can distort the truth and say, hey, I did this, and I don't know why this business relationship has gone south. You're able to kind of really dig in there and say, okay, my customer is saying this, my employee is saying this. Let's take a real look at what's going on with the email and look at that chain, and you're able to really discover the truth at that point. And then, as always, our protective measures. So, when we're scanning email on the inbound or the outbound side, we're looking for content and attachment issues. We're doing the spam scanning, and that's only really a part of the story. We're doing the deep virus scanning and the content analysis and everything else that surrounds email protection.
Gotcha. So that ties into two questions that I have here, actually. One is, and you seem to have answered this kind of in a cursory way, but I just wanted to ask directly. If you're the boss, or you own a company or something like that, and you want to see an employee's archive, is that possible, or is that something that they would have to go through the MSP to get access to?
No, that is completely possible, right? So one of the things that we do with the archiving piece that may be different even than we do with the email filtering is everything is siloed. So once you've got an archiving customer, it's actually a different customer type. It's flipping a couple of switches on our side to make some adjustments. But once that happens, that customer environment is completely siloed. So if you want to share management with a customer, you can. If you want to roll down different admin levels to that customer site, you can do that as well. So you could make a business owner a customer level admin where they can actually get into the archive. And there's other admin credentials that you could roll down as well that would give them visibility into their email structure, their policies, and their framework without them being able to break the system.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, that definitely answers that question. And then the other question that I had here that kind of fit into the earlier discussion was basically what are the requirements to make archiving work? What do you need in order to to get set up with the archiving? Is there any like physical requirements like software or servers or anything like that, or is there I know that they need to have inbound and outbound filtering, right, which is part of the spam soap. What do they call it? Sorry, it's slipping my mind. The Core Pro.
The core protection, right? So, and that's actually more of a suggestion, and from a pricing perspective, we kind of make it make sense to grab the email protection. The number one thing that you have to have is access to Exchange journaling. So whether you maintain your own Exchange server or it's a third party, it must be able to journal, and that means it must be able to take all inbound, outbound, and internal traffic and push a copy of it into a single or central repository. And the reason why we do it that way is that really is what satisfies the compliancy efforts and the legal efforts as well. There's other ways to archive. There's systems that will do it in message flow. So while we're scanning, we would dump a copy over. But from a compliance perspective, to really do it right, it needs to be messages that delivered to the Exchange server, and then it needs to push into a repository that wraps up all of the associated header information, so the timestamps and the message IDs and everything. That way, if the lawyer is looking for the email, they're able to say, this is the email as it was originally received by my server, not in message flow, which could have been quarantined or blocked somewhere else, or not just a copy from a PST, which could have been tampered with or adjusted in some way.
Gotcha.
This is the way the message actually received. So that's the number one thing that's required. And then everything else really is just ancillary. So the outbound filtering, not a requirement, but something that comes with it, so you might as well turn it on. The content attachment scanning, not required, but it comes with it, so again, you might as well turn it on and use it.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well that kind of answers that question too. Let me ask you this. Is it possible to populate the archive retroactively? So you sign someone up, and they have a ton of email already. Can they? Well, you just said yes, so I assume they can. Can you expand on that a little bit? What do they do? Upload a PST to somewhere, or how do they do that?
Yeah, that's the simplest way. There's a couple of mechanisms for it. When you're setting up a journal store on your server, that means you're setting up this mailbox that's going to be the central repository for emails in real time. The way that you would upload what we call historical mail, is to set up a historical journal. It's the same exact thing, but it's a different mail source on your server, and our system will index it differently because we're not looking for real-time messages. We're looking for messages with their associated IDs that may go back in time, and it could go back as far as you want. That's the simplest. That's the easiest way to do it as an admin. We make it incredibly simple to do it by just shipping you a drive, and you can just dump your PSTs onto the drive and ship it back. There's some associated costs for that, but if you've got a customer that has a large store, we were just working with the law office not too long ago, and they had somewhere around 100 gig of messages that needed to be ingested into historical, and with that type of volume, setting up your own store and trying to move it over across the network could take a long time and really a lot of management hours and admin time on your part. So for those larger customers or those that have more complex storage on their end, we can make it easy by just shipping you out a drive. You load it up, you ship it back, and then you give us a little bit of time because now we have to parse through it and work through it. But once we've got it set up on our side, it will live within the main archive. So as an admin, you'd be able to search out those emails from 5 years ago or 10 years ago, in the historical that were stored as historical, but on our end, it's just, or on your end, it's just going to be looking at the same search tool. And then even as a user, once we've indexed it properly, a user can actually just log into their own Outlook, and they can look at those old messages as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that makes perfect sense. It sounds simple enough. It's just like pretty much like any other backup type solution, so it's a good way to get it started. You can kick it off nice and easy. I actually read an article the other day about this is a little bit off topic, about a company that they tried to transfer data and across their network. This was an African company, and they, instead of using the ADSL from the ISP, they actually put it on a 4 gig drive and had a carrier pigeon deliver it, and it got there faster than they did over the So do you guys support carrier pigeon? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, we use the U.S. mail service. Actually, I think it's FedEx, but
there you go.
But no, but it is faster. I mean, that's kind of a strange way to look at it, but it is faster if you're trying to push, a really large volume, and the other part of it is you have to search through and dissect those PSTs yourself, and once you look at the hours involved, sometimes it is a lot easier to go to the customer and say, hey, you want this large store, you're going to pay a little bit of money, let's get it shipped over, let them handle it, and then you'll just have to wait a few weeks, and it's taken care of for you.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that makes a lot more sense.
I like the carrier pigeon idea, though. I don't know what that does from a security perspective, though. I don't know what type of encryption is wrapped around the pigeon's wings, but
it was a
nice idea.
They had a thumb drive. It's on Wikipedia. You can look it up.
Anyway. I don't think you can buy shipping insurance for a carrier pigeon.
No, no, I don't think so. One last question for you here, and this is really more. This is kind of a case-by-case basis kind of question, but I guess if you can just speak to this in general, do you guys have a recommendation for how long you should make the archiving go for it? And I know our pricing is set up for 1 year and multi-year, so you kind of you either do it for 1 year or you do it for all of them. But
right.
I mean, based on your experience working with MSPs, have you heard any reasons why you should either try to limit that or try to expand it as much as you can? Is there anything you can say to that?
So there's really a couple of different philosophies. The one that I support most is archive for forever, right? So so we don't charge anything different for that multi-year, right? So whether it's 3-year or 10-year, it doesn't make any difference to us. So and you can adjust it even within your own console as an admin. But my suggestion normally is just set it up for 10-year out of the gate. The messages will be there for you. They're going to be stored. They're going to be secure, and they'll be available to you. The only reasons where I've seen people not do that is weirdly, and I guess it's not so weird, but weirdly we've had companies that have said we're only going to keep messages for whatever we're legally required to do. And it comes down to, if we don't have it, then we're not responsible for it. But that's actually been proven, and I skipped a couple of the court cases in my demo here, but that's actually proven not to be true. So the old school of thought was, I'm only legally bound to store these messages for 3 years, and after that, I'm not legally bound to have them. The problem in a court case, in a real-life court case, is if the other side has their copies and you don't, even if it's past that legal time limit, especially if it's a short one like 3 years, if the other side has theirs, then the onus or the responsibility to prove otherwise is now yours. If you don't have anything to back it up, you're kind of out of luck, right? So
wow.
Again, my thinking is go with the compliant archiving solution and go for the longer term. I know that there's some competitors out there that are offering really short archives, and I just don't see any real advantage to it, because if it's only going to be for 90 days or 120 days, you could just do that on your own PST. I mean, at that point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes perfect sense. That's good to know.
But we do offer all flavors, so if they only want the 90-day, I have that available to them as well.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know. All right. Audience members, any other questions that you guys had, or do you think that this has been helpful to you? Give them a second to punch something in if they got something. Otherwise, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. Eric, thank you so much for being on the call, and Heidi, thank you too. I know you've been the silent strong one, and I've appreciated having you both on the line. And we will have this webinar online top of next week. So if if you guys want to hear this again, or you want to go through and see some information, it'll be there. Eric, anything else you want to add on?
No, this has been great, and I think this will be maybe the first in a series. So look to Virtual Administrator and Spam Soap for some new solutions as we move forward.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you guys are rock stars, and you're just really doing amazing things, especially in the email market, but I know you've got a lot of other things cooking in the pot, too, so it's...
Stay tuned.
Yeah, definitely. We are keeping a close eye on y'all. So, alrighty. Well, in that case, I will go ahead and call it here. So, guys, thank you for being on the line. I appreciate you taking some time out of your afternoon for us. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm glad that they got all squared away. And we will see you guys soon.
All right, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Eric.
Yep.
All right,
Have a good
thank
one.
you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.